Amazing. Okay, so welcome, ladies, to the cardio versus weights webinar. So I'm just going to delve straight into it. I've done it based on the benefits of cardio, the benefits of weights, and then I'm going to talk through my personal experience with both. Any questions that crop up, just as I said, just pop them in the comment box below. So cardio. What is cardio, first of all? So my version is a form of moving your body to improve your heart health, so the cardiovascular system. So there's two types of cardio. There's aerobic and then there's anaerobic. So aerobic, I put walking / light movement because aerobic can be deemed as gardening. It could be deemed as putting your washing away, anything that really elevates your heart rate a tiny little bit, but nothing that'll get you too out of breath. So a form of this could be called LIST, so low intensity, steady state training. Now, some of you might be doing this as part of your program, some might not. LIST basically is great when you are looking to implement cardio, but you're low on energy. Meaning, if you think of if you think of a bodybuilder, for instance, when they are at the back end of their prep, so very close to stage, they would want to do a type of cardio which doesn't knacker them out. So they'll still be able to burn calories, but doing a light form of exercise, aerobic, is not going to knock them out, and they're not going to eat into their muscle mass. They're just going to be chipping away at the fat. Anaerobic cardio, that is quick bursts of energy. That could be sprints, that could be a boot camp, for instance, that could be just a little circuit, and that could be doing hits on the bike, for instance. Got a question, interested to know about heart rates when doing weights. Heart rate goes up when doing weights, but not for long, certainly not as much as when doing cardio. No, it doesn't matter. Now, everyone's heart rate will vary based on their age, their ability, and I would also say as well their experience. So if you're someone who has weight trained for a while, it might take your heart rate a little bit longer to kind of spike when you're doing weight training exercises. It's normally a case of when you go super heavy, which is obviously going to be a short burst, that you're going to see that spike. As I said, everyone's heart rate is different. When it comes to making improvements in the gym, it's not about how high your heart rate goes. A lot of runners will, base their fitness levels off their heart rate. If you're super fit, your heart rate naturally sits lower. It is what it is. It's even at rest. Like my heart rate, for instance, is very low, even when I'm rested. Even when I train, just because I've been training for such a long period of time, I would deem myself as relatively fit. And that also goes along with my blood pressure. My blood pressure is also quite low. So yeah, it doesn't matter what your heart rate is when you're training, and it definitely doesn't have any correlation to how good that session is. Cool. So any questions on aerobic or anaerobic types of cardio? Nope, fab, awesome. As I said, any questions, just pop them in the box. So cardio benefits, what are cardio benefits? First of all, a healthy adult should do a minimum of 150 minutes a week. I think that works out as, my maths is terrible, let me just divide that by 7. That's 21 minutes a day. Ideally, the government recommended guidelines is 30 minutes a day for an adult. So that would include your steps, low intensity walking, that would be your steps. So the benefits of cardio: aids fat loss, as we know, because as we get further into our fat loss phase, I will always incorporate cardio eventually. It's budget friendly. Anyone can get cardio in, anyone can go for a walk, anyone can do a little HIIT workout in the house without spending money. Helps maintain healthy blood pressure, as I said. That blood pressure, so meaning whether it's high or low. If it's too high, obviously we're at risk of other conditions. If it's too low, again, we're at risk of other conditions. We kind of want that happy medium, so help maintain a healthy blood pressure. Helps protect your immune system. So when we train, when we exercise cardio, we will release type of hemoglobin, immunoglobulin, and that will help us fight off infections. Aid sleep. When we've worked our body, we're more inclined going to be a lot more tired, so we're going to sleep a lot better. Reduces and helps regulate blood sugars, boosts our mood, and is a tool to aid fat loss. Just check the questions. Does a low resting heart rate beat indicate good cardiovascular health? why is some exercises preferred to others, Stairmaster speed walking. So resting heart rate, it is looked at as good cardiovascular health, but some people might have a lower resting heart rate due to a low blood pressure, which is not great in some instances because you're more inclined to faint or pass out. So if you have a low blood pressure based on cardiovascular fitness, health, walking, getting your steps in, then that's good. But there could be other blood conditions that are causing it to be low, which obviously not so good. And then the next question, why is some cardio exercise preferred to others? So good question. If we are trying to aid fat loss at a quicker rate, then something like the Stairmaster is going to elicit more calories burned per minute per hour in comparison to walking. So if we were on the Stairmaster, for instance, for 40 minutes and the walking for 40 minutes, we're probably going to burn more calories on the Stairmaster than what we would walking. Even if it's very close speed for speed, the intensity of which the Stairmaster is, because obviously it's on an incline, again, we're going to burn more calories because it's more endurance and is harder on the body, having to climb these steps up higher and higher rather than walking at a flat pace. So I've put on there, it's a tool to aid fat loss because you don't need to incorporate cardio to get fat loss, to elicit that fat loss, because we can get that from our food, from getting your steps in. Steps are more just for health. I don't really count steps as cardio unless it's if we don't move that much in the first instance. It might be the case that we have our step goal and then we do an extra 10-20 minute power walk on top of that, then that would be additional cardio. But we tend to only add in cardio towards the mid to an end of a fat loss phase, because no one wants to do cardio for the rest of your life unless it's the type of person who enjoys keeping fit, improving their time on their runs, improving how many lengths they can do in the pool. No one can sustain cardio forever. As I say, it's not that fun unless you're improving your time or something like that. So it's always used as a tool to elicit more calories burnt when in a fat loss phase. If your goal is not fat loss, you don't need to do cardio. Aside from health benefits, you don't need to go balls to the wall, doing an hour of cardio each day. It's just not beneficial. The negatives of doing some cardio exercises, if we're again a bit older and we're doing, like squat jumps or burpees on hard floor, or going or pounding the roads for ages, when you're running, it's not going to be good on your joints. It's not going to be good on your knees, on your hips, and if anything, it will cause more problems later down the line. That is why when people get older, I'm talking in your 60s, it is better to do a more sustainable version of cardio, so increasing steps on a slight incline, than it is to kind of go running, pounding the floor. So cardio, great for health benefits, but pick what you want to do. I would never sort of recommend, a woman late into her 60s to do pounding of cardio on the treadmill on the road, because it's probably going to do more damage than good. Question: if you have 20 minutes of cardio 3 times a week, I wonder who you're talking about, but you might not have the time to fit that in 3 times a week. Could you do 30 minutes over 2 days instead? Yeah, that is absolutely fine. The only thing you might find is when we get to that 30 minutes, you might find that you put in a little bit less effort towards the end. If you're doing the 20 minutes 3 times a week, you're probably going to go a little bit harder for that 20 minutes 3 times rather than 2 times for 30 minutes. You might find yourself easing up a little bit towards the end. So it's a case of making sure that you're not dropping the intensity, you're not lowering speed, but staying consistent. And that is where machines come in handy, because you can monitor the speed and the incline and the intensity which you go at it. Any questions on cardio benefits? Nope, perfect. Okay, let's move across to weight training. So weight training is a type of strength training that uses weights for resistance. Weight training provides a stress to the muscle that causes them to adapt and get stronger, similarly to the way aerobic conditioning strengthens your heart. So as I just mentioned, aerobic exercise, which will be low intensity, steady state, walking for instance, will help strengthen your heart. So just as that strengthens your heart, weight training is going to improve the muscle size, the muscle quality, your muscle strength. So the way strength training works, basically, when you put your muscle under pressure. So if you just think of a squat, for instance, with some dumbbells, for example, you are adding weight to your body. So when you're doing that exercise, your muscles are having tiny little micro tears. Those tiny little micro tears, once fueled correctly with your nutrition, are going to repair themselves slightly bigger each time, as long as we are progressing with that weight, progressing with that tempo. And that is what allows us to build muscle. With cardio, that doesn't happen. You don't build muscle in cardio, you are just looking to improve that cardiovascular system. You're not putting any load onto that muscle. You think of walking, the only thing that you are putting stress on is your heart. If you add a backpack, even though it's full of weights, you're going to get out of breath because you're increasing the amount of weight on your body, which is going to impact your heart. Whereas if you think of a squat, for instance, yes, you'll get a little bit out of breath, but the load is being taken by our muscles in our legs, in our glutes and our hamstrings, our quads, for instance. Okay, another question. Is it true or a myth that if you stop training muscle, slowly your muscle will turn to fat? Your muscle won't turn to fat, but if you are not in a calorie deficit, if you are not maintaining that fat loss result, you will put fat on. Your fat won't turn to muscle because they're two separate things. But muscle will soon be covered by fat because you are just increasing the fat in your body if you are not maintaining your body weight. You will lose strength over time if you stop weight training, but you don't lose your muscle completely. Your muscle, if you stop weight training, would eventually deteriorate over a long period of time. I'm talking years. Now, I'm not saying you're going to lose all your muscle because our bodies are supported by muscle. If we don't have muscle, we wouldn't be able to stand up. We would be jelly. We would literally just be like this on the floor. So everyone has muscle. Even when someone says, I have no muscle on my body, everyone has muscle, it's just you can't see it because maybe it's covered in fat. Your body's covered in fat. I don't mean that negatively, but that is why some people might say, I don't have muscle. It's just because they can't see it. It doesn't mean it's not there. But the more you strength train, the more the muscle will build. Next question. If you're doing cardio and weight training in one session, should you do cardio or weights first, or does it matter? Yes, it does matter. So always do your weight training first before you do your cardio, because your weight training is where you sculpt your body. That is where you change your shape. That is where you change your body from, excuse the term, skinny fat to muscular. And when I say muscular, I'm not talking about the Michelin Man, I'm talking about lean, curvy, sexy, the softness of the body, the leanness of the body. When we do our cardio before weight training, sometimes it might be more efficient for you and you don't have an option. It just means that you're pre-exhausting that muscle. So if you were, for instance, did 20 minutes on the Stairmaster and then went and did squats, you probably find yourself a lot weaker because you've already pre-exhausted that muscle. It's already worked in terms of it's moved quite significantly. So you're going to be a bit tired by the time you get to doing your weight training. So always do weight training and then do your cardio. Next question. Why do we have to have a growth phase to build muscle? Because your muscle will get to a point where it stops stimulating without nourishment. So we need to make sure we are fueling that muscle to grow. Think of a plant, for instance, a flower. If you put a flower that thrives in the daylight, so it's food, has a bit of rain, goes through the seasons, it's going to grow. If you take that plant and put it indoors, you stop watering it, you put it in darkness, it's probably going to wither away. I'm not going to say you're going to wither away if you don't do a growth phase, but if you want to build bigger muscle, you have to feed it more. Same with the plant, you would water it more, you'd give it more daylight, you would give it plant food, and it's going to grow into this massive sunflower. Same as you need to be able to water your muscles, feed your muscles to make them a little bit bigger, because when we eat more, we're going to be able to lift more. Meaning we're going to have slightly more micro tears in that muscle, so that muscle is going to grow. Hopefully that answers that question. Lovely. Daft question. There's no daft question. But I doubt myself on this each time. If I have 4 kilogram dumbbells in each hand and I'm using both, say doing lunges, squats, is that 4 kilogram in total, or 4 kilograms times 2. So if you're referring to putting it in the app, for benefits of putting it into the app, I would just put 8 kilograms, because 2 times 4 is 8 kilograms. If you're on about the total amount you've lifted, again, it would be 8 kilograms. So whether you're using 2 dumbbells, 4 each, or 1 kettlebell, that's 8 kilograms. They're both 8 kilograms. So as long as you know what you mean when you put it into the app, that's kind of the main thing. Cool. So next one, weight benefits. This makes sense. Weight training benefits, I should say. So what are the benefits? Right, physically makes you stronger. We know that, tick. You continue to burn calories after exercise. This is where it gets exciting. So the reason why weight training, I would say, is a little bit more superior when it comes to burning calories than cardio, let's say aerobic, because your BMR, your metabolic rate, will continue to fire, meaning it'll continue to burn calories after you've weight trained. Now, caveat, when you do anaerobic training, HIIT for instance, boot camp, high intensity, you will still burn calories after that training session. But for weight training, you can burn calories up to 72 hours later. Now, when we weight train, as you know, I don't get you to write down how many calories you've burned in your weight training session. I'll only ask about your cardio. The reason for that, because your weight training session is not there to burn calories. It is there to stimulate muscle growth. It is there to stimulate a better body, as in visually nicer. And let's be fair, that's what we all want. We all want to look visually nicer, and that is what weight training does. So with burning more calories after you've trained, you will continue to do that after you've weight trained, where if you did something like low intensity training, so like just running or walking or just on the Stairmaster for 40 minutes, you stop burning calories after that session. So weight training will mean you burn more calories after, and what it also does, as I said, it increases that metabolic rate. So what your metabolic rate is your body's, the amount your body burns on a daily basis. So there's different terminologies for this, but we'll just keep it simple. From the moment you wake up in the morning, you breathe, you stretch, you get up, you get out of bed, you go in the shower, your organs are functioning, you're still breathing, your lungs are working, you carry yourself off to work, you do your work, you're sitting at your desk, you're not moving, but you're still living, so you're still burning calories. You go to bed, you still burn calories because your heart's still working in the night. So think of your entire 24-hour window. You will always burn calories. Now, this is how you kind of work out how many calories you should be eating for fat loss. Your body will have a natural amount of what it needs to maintain its weight. Okay, so the benefits of weight training is because your BMR is improving, you will actually start to eat more calories whilst you're weight training to maintain your body weight. I mean, success, you're eating more, but you're maintaining your body weight. That doesn't happen with cardio. So that is another benefit of weight training. It helps you appear leaner. Now, I've written this appear leaner because, of course, to look leaner, we still need to drop body fat. But the benefit of weight training is you will change your body shape. You can look completely different. You might not change much on the scale, but you will look completely different. This is called a body recomposition. So you could look smaller in terms of smaller waist, leaner, more toned, meaning you can visually see that muscle on your body. Now, again, I have to stress, being toned, being muscular is nothing to be scared of. It's not being the Michelin Man. It is just having extra muscle on your body, which as women we need, because that will help us fight against osteoporosis, which is brittle bone disease. Decreases your risk of falls because you are going to have better balance. Now, I know that sounds very minor, but again, that's going to help protect us against osteoporosis because we're not going to fall over and break a wrist, for instance. My nan, she's constantly falling over. She's never weight trained in her life. I can guarantee maybe your grandparents probably do the same, but if you're weight training now, you are going to save yourself so many cuts and falls when you get older because you're more than likely going to put your arm out, or you're going to have better balance. Mood boosting. So yes, cardio is also mood boosting, but weight training, you just get a different feeling. And I put there, it helps improve confidence because personally with weight training, you just get more wins a lot faster. If you're trying to improve your run, it takes a lot of fitness to kind of beat the next minute mile. a lot of fitness and a lot of hard work put into that, which is great. So when you get there, for weight training, you can go up a kilogram on your squat very quickly. You can improve those weights really, really fast, and that is mood boosting. That's going to improve your self-confidence because you're feeling stronger, you're getting these PBs, and you're just going to feel so much better about it. Helps improve posture when done correctly. When we build that stronger core, when we open up our chest and build our back muscles, we're going to hold ourselves better if we're doing it right. And of course, that's going to make us look taller. That's going to make us look and feel more attractive as well because we're holding ourselves with confidence. Improves your heart health. So, what you said earlier, Alyssa, about does your heart rate need to be a certain number when you're weight training? No, but weight training does improve our heart health because we are still putting pressure on it. Support your joints. Now, this is a really interesting one because a lot of people won't weight train because they have sore joints. They have arthritis in their knees, or they have like a hip condition or something like that. But the reason why they have sore joints is because they're not weight training. There's a bit of a caveat, catch-22 there. But equally, if someone has a knee condition, it's just about adapting it for them. They might not be able to squat, but they can do something else. And just because you can't do something, with one specific exercise, it shouldn't put you off from doing other things. Already said about confidence. So your body shape will change. As I said, you can look visually smaller without the number on the scale changing that much, because not that muscle, it weighs more than fat. It's the complete opposite, because a pound for pound is a pound for pound. A pound of fat is the same as a pound of muscle, but it looks different, which is what I'm going to show you in a second. And you have a lower body fat percentage as well. As long as we are in that calorie deficit, that body fat percentage will come down, which leads me on to the next bit. The reason why you will visually look better is because although pound for pound, fat and muscle weigh the same, it looks completely different. Fat looks squidgy. Fat looks like fat. Fat is bumpy. Fat will, have a softer appearance. You're going to look a bit more jiggly. Muscle is leaner. Muscle is smoother. The way muscle sits on your body is a lot more pleasing, should we say, than what fat looks like. Not saying having extra body weight is a negative, but how it visually looks, this is why, in my personal opinion, weight training is more superior than cardio, because I've been the cardio girl, I've been the cardio bunny, and there's two ways cardio can go. As I said, you don't build muscle when you're doing cardio. You either do a lot of cardio and then you become very skinny, which is not a good look, or you're doing your cardio and you're still carrying a bit of fat because you're not building muscle, and you have that skinny fat look, which is a term I know that's thrown around, and you still kind of look jiggly. I can't quite explain it, but you're small, but you don't look in shape. And I know a lot of you, when you came to me, your goal was to look visually better, and that's what weight training does. It will visually make you look better, because if you think about it, if you had this on your body and not much of this, you're going to look bumpy, bubbly, a bit more jiggly. If you have less of this on your body, because we still need some fat on our body for health purposes, and more of this, you're going to look smaller because it takes up less room in the body. Muscle is more dense in comparison to fat. It will just look nicer on the body. When you say you want to be toned, you want to build your bum, you want to look leaner, you want to have curves, that is what weight training does for your body. What cardio does is improve your heart health. Yes, you'll drop a dress size, you will lose weight on the scale, but you're losing weight. You're not necessarily losing fat. And that is why a lot of people say, I've been running, I've been doing lots of cardio for years and years, but I'm just not changing my shape. Because cardio doesn't change your shape, weight training changes your shape. But when you combine your weight training with cardio to elicit more fat loss, that is when you get outstanding results. That is when you completely transform your body from someone who is just someone to someone who looks absolutely fantastic and amazing. Again, caveat, I'm not saying you can't look fantastic and amazing if you don't weight train and do cardio, but you know what I mean. You're just going to enhance your body shape, and you're going to have that confidence about you because you're going to feel so much better in yourself as well. Really interesting. I'm glad that was helpful. And this is why I said at the start, it's probably a bit of a technically boring webinar because there's not a lot to it. as I said, the more stimulating parts would be any questions that you have. But it's just a case of do what you enjoy. If you have physical goals where you want to look a certain way, that is where your weight training comes in. And then your cardio on top of that to contribute more towards a calorie deficit. If you want to improve your fitness, crack on, do your cardio, do your running, do your swimming or whatever that may be. You still need to get your steps in for health because, as I said, cardiovascular health, but combining the two over a long period of time, that is when you get the best results. I'm glad you enjoyed the webinar. I was typing it up and I thought, is this going to be interesting for them? Any other questions, or anyone wants to jump off mute and share what they're thinking, or anything else that sort of come up through that webinar? No other questions? There's a few of you who haven't asked any yet. Anything else kind of come to mind? Okay, let's do a little game. Drop a 1 in the chat box if you enjoy cardio. Oh, Alyssa, I do not agree. Okay, drop a 1 in the comment box. No, let's drop a 2 in the comment box if you enjoy weight training. Someone's excited. Yeah, do you want to let me unmute you, Alyssa? 1 sec. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we go. I've just requested you to unmute.
Fantastic, thanks. Just wanted a query. So when you go into your because I'm in a fat loss phase now, and then when I go into my kind of stabilization phase, do you have to keep doing weights? Because I don't like weights. I'm learning to like them. But my worry is if I stopped doing it or reduced it, all that good work and what you've just said about my shape would all kind of reverse. Is that true, or is it a bit of a balance?
It's a balance. It won't reverse. If you eventually want to do less weight training, that's fine. But as a woman, to maintain good bone health, and that's what it really boils down to us as women, we need to do a minimum of 2 sessions a week, ideally, just because I know a lot of you have seen it on my stories, just talk about perimenopause and menopause. When we go into that phase of our life, our bone density and our muscle mass will naturally reduce quite a lot. And that is why a lot of people, when they hit perimenopause, think they put on a lot of fat and their shape has changed. And the main contribution towards that is because when our hormones drop at that point in our life, our bone density also drops and our muscle mass drops. So being able to stimulate muscle mass now and continuing in that into our early 40s, going into our late 40s, then that is only going to contribute towards good health and keep that shape. Put it this way, if you hadn't been doing your weight training now, and obviously, as you progress into your 40s, your shape would have changed even more. But the fact that you've started your weight training now and are going to continue it, that's just going to enhance your shape. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, perfect. Thanks, Em.
No worries. Anyone else want to jump off mute and ask a question? No? Perfect. Well, hopefully you all enjoyed that. As I said before, if there's any other videos or webinars you like or want me to do similar to this, just let me know. Happy to do that. I'm just going to stop recording there. Give me a second.